One. And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Wheel Talk, the podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and another guy in a wheelchair. Welcome back, Brian Kinney. How the devil are you?
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Doing good. I'm glad to be here and fill in for the girl in a wheelchair. I feel I'm kind of the backup, and I love it. You know,
it's cool, man. Yeah, you're a popular guest. It's great. It's great to see you, man. How's summer treating you? How's things going since the last time we spoke?
I feel like I haven't stopped. I mean, it's been nonstop all summer long. You know, having my daughter home out of school, trying to work and then watch her during the day. It's just like I'm constantly running back and forth. She's in summer camp this week, so I'm actually getting kind of a little bit of a breather without a kid running around. So it's like this is a good week to do a podcast. But
nice.
Then I have to, we had to. So I clocked in for work at like 7:00. Then I had to take her to summer camp, come back, do more work, and it's just like, I just feel like it's just constant go.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. And we've been, we did a little vacation thing last week, went to an amusement park. It's called Kings Island. So they've got roller coasters and all kinds of rides. So it was kind of like, it was a little hoorah following my daughter's birthday, kind of like nice. Final gift that she got. So, but it was cool. We got to spend time with family and just, kind of do our own thing. So it was good.
So how old is she now?
She just turned 7.
Wow.
Which is
wild.
Crazy. Yeah, it's just nuts. It is nuts because I was, looking back at videos and, on my YouTube channel. It's funny because she now follows my YouTube channel. So she goes through and she watches all the videos and she loves them. She likes seeing when she was a little baby and then a toddler, and it's cool. And then she clicked on the one day that I was talking about sex after spinal cord injury. I'm like, no. You want to skip that one. I was like, man, I got to filter my channel a little bit for my child.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, there are some things that are like too personal. Like, I shared with you a video I posted on Patreon recently about shitting myself. It was just a story of, like, a very humorous, funny story of me shitting myself just the other day on that couch there. But I went into like a hell of a lot of detail because it was fresh, so to speak.
Right.
Because like it just happened like about an hour previous. Chris went out and I was like, oh, I'm gonna film a YouTube video about that. And then afterwards, it was like very minimally edited. It was just like an off the cuff thing. I thought, you know what? Maybe I won't put this on the main channel because it's really quite personal. But then, I have other stuff that's more personal on there. I don't know, but the people on Patreon found it like quite funny. And I know I've sent it to you and you thought it was kind of funny as well.
Yeah. I only got to watch like the first 5 minutes of it because my wife was working and she's like, she said it was kind of distracting, but I got the gist, Well, here's the thing. It wasn't the content. She thought that was hilarious. Just, trying to focus on work and trying to listen to something in the background. Yeah. It's kind of hard to do, but I mean, everything you said, I was like, yep, done. I did that. I've done that. The only thing I haven't done is actually laugh while I'm in the midst of trying to clean up, a shit attack. Yeah. I'm usually not that happy, until afterward. It's so funny how quickly it blows over afterward though. Once you got everything cleaned up and everything's said and done, it's like, all right, what's next? It's not some big deal.
Well, I'll give the viewers a little recap because I don't know if I'm gonna release the video, but basically the other day I was sat on the couch and we were watching the series that we're into, and it was like 5 minutes before the end, like this big cliffhanger is just about to build up, and then I was like, oh no, I've just shit myself, and she was like,
yep.
Oh, really? And I was like, yeah.
That was your cliffhanger.
Yeah, that was my cliffhanger, exactly. So, but I knew immediately what had happened, and I was like, okay, well, and like the thing is, like, this is what I said in the video. When something happens so, like, often enough, you know what to do. I'm like, get me a towel, put a towel down on the seat, and then when you do the transfers, like, you have to do, like, squelchy transfers, and I'm like, okay, I've got 2 squelchy transfers, one onto the chair, and then one onto the toilet, and then you've got a... because I'm not sure if able-bodied people like understand. You've got to like pull your pants down with it in there, so you like it's just smears all along your thighs and on your balls, and you're like, oh god, like this is
all the way down to your calves and everything. It's I know.
So I'm in the toilet, and I'm like, oh, and she's like, "You're right." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I get cleaned up, I get in the shower, wash my bum and everything, and then I just come out, and my girlfriend doesn't even. She's like, "Well, I've got to leave for work soon. Have you got time to watch the end of this episode?" I'm like, "Yep, sweet." We just put it straight up back on. It wasn't even like a big
Right.
are you okay? Was that traumatizing? She's like, "No, are you done?" Sweet, because I'm in a rush, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." And it was just
Right.
like a normal Tuesday.
Right. It's just a shit happens kind of thing. That's what I thought was hilarious. One thing I was thinking about is I don't think you two are probably at the level of comfortability yet, maybe as far as her helping you. So like I immediately ask for help. One of the
Oh,
biggest
really?
things, one of the biggest things I try to do is have her, as I transfer onto the toilet, pull my pants down to try to, you know, try
Oh.
to avoid as much, of the chaotic mess. So that works, and she'll help me take off my shoes and. But obviously, I'm taking care of the rest. I was just curious if you guys would you feel comfortable enough being like, "Hey, can you do this?" Or like
So there was a
if it's up your back, "Hey, can you wipe that off? Because I can't." You know.
It wasn't that bad. It was only a small one. It was only a small little accident. But I have had the experience before where I'm like, oh, I need to get my shoe off. And I know exactly what you mean. She's like,
Yep.
in order for me to get my trousers off, I need to get my shoe off. But I can't get my shoe off because I can't reach my shoe and I can't lift my leg up to my. So I'm like, do I ask to get my shoe off? And I had a moment a couple of years back when it happened with my housemate Ollie, and I had to, and this was way worse. This was like up there with like Poomageddon, and I had to be like, hey bro, can you get my shoe off? And he, bless him, he took my shoe off.
Right.
Yesterday, I was like, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I was like, oh, do you know what? I could ask her to get my shoe off, but I'm actually quite confident I can transfer back onto the towel and then, get my shoe off myself. And I managed to do that without asking for help. But you're right, I wouldn't be embarrassed to ask for help, but I'm like, I think I can figure out how to get my shoe off.
Yeah.
But then you've
So
got to,
wait.
once you've got the shoe off, you've got to try and get your sock out, of the trouser leg without smearing it. And yeah, it was a messy.
Yep. Yep. I've been there. Been there. Been there. Been there many times. But yeah, I was
Yeah.
just curious if you guys are at that level yet, where it's just like an automatic, like, what can I do to help kind of situation, or if she's just like, you go take care of that.
I think if it had been worse, like it was like I know I've spoken to you about this before. I feel like when I've spoken to you about looby farts, like they're
Yep.
not like, but it's like a very 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 wet fart, and there's enough poo in there to call it shitting yourself, but
Right.
it's not like I've just had explosive diarrhea. If I'd just had explosive diarrhea, I would have been like, I really need assistance. But I was like,
Yeah.
I think I've got this one. And I didn't actually explicitly say that to her, but I think I communicated, non-verbally, I got this. Can you just get me a towel? And I'll
Right.
be back in like 15 minutes. But yeah, if there's a level, of these things. And
Yeah.
if you have like diarrhea, then you're like, I need assistance.
Right. Right. Well, too, I was thinking, you had done a video a while back, just transferring onto the toilet, and I noticed so much of your having more core. So I feel like it's a little bit maybe easier, but you're really not getting away from the smear aspect. Um,
Yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know. I was thinking you said 15 minutes. I've never rebounded in 15 minutes ever. Like I was thinking, I got to get
Wow.
on the pot, I got to take care of business, then I got to get in the shower. So you did the whole bit in 15 minutes?
Yeah, but like I say, there was nothing else to come out of. I just had to clean myself up. It was basically like kind of like looby. I don't really like to use that word, but that kind of what it
Yeah.
is. It's just like this sort of discharge from the anus, but it's not like it's not all shit. It's mostly just like gooey stuff. It looks really weird. There's some poo in there as well. There's enough poo in there to like call it shitting yourself, but it's on the
Yeah.
scale of like explosive diarrhea to wet fart. It's this end of the scale. So
Yeah.
trust me, if it was explosive diarrhea, it would be longer than 15 minutes. I'd be like, look, you might have to be late for work. I need some serious assistance here. But it was
Right.
this one was, yeah, wasn't that serious.
It was on the good good end of the spectrum. I get it.
Yeah,
Enough
exactly.
said. I'm sure all of our listeners love this conversation. I feel
Yeah,
like
well,
our combos always go in a weird direction, It's just
for
how it
everyone
rolls.
asking, where is Brittney? We did say last week on the podcast that she wasn't going to be able to join us. She is away this week. She's obviously otherwise engaged. That's why we have Brian here. Come on, it's obvious. Brian is here because Brittney can't be here. And when I can't be here, Brian is here and Brittney's here. So there you go.
Yep.
But we are having, I'm going to give this a shameless plug. We're having a Zoom hangout on Patreon tomorrow. You can join for free and Brittney will be there. And then you can join us and be on the screen and have a lovely little get together. The link is in the description. It's free to join Patreon. So yeah, there you go. Shameless plug,
Cool.
but that's it. We're going to move on.
Got it.
Talking of moving on and awkward conversations, Brian, you messaged me this week with a juicy bit of gossip. And I think we're far enough into the podcast now that we can approach it. So, do you want to tell me more?
Yeah, it's been a thing, and like I said, the whole story was a little too long to be able to just type it out. So I'm like, this is something we need to talk about in person.
Let's go for it.
It kind of goes back to 2022. Somebody, so I get, have a YouTube channel. People have messaged me many times. And, I've always said in my videos, like, hey, I'm a, very open person. Like, if you have any questions, I'm not worried about if it's a personal situation, if I can help you, please let me know. So I had, that was just the general, information I had put on my website. Long story short, this person had reached out to me by email, said, hey, my name is Nicole. My boyfriend is a T1 paraplegic. His name's Vinny. Went into just a little bit about how they're trying to get pregnant and, had some questions, no harm, no foul if you don't reply back to me. And I, replied instantly and said, hey, no problem. I'm happy to help. It's not something I've done it for other people, in the past. And especially knowing that it took me 4 years to try to have a kid, there was so much trial and error that went into that. So I've always tried to help people. So long story short, I had given this person a lot of information and even some detailed instructions for how to use the TENS machine, which is how I ultimately became a father. But it's very technical and, setting up, the settings and doing all that stuff. So, but after, a couple of correspondences, I'm like, I just felt like the story was not adding up. Reason being that this person, every detail about this person was pretty much a mirror image of what I've talked about my condition, my baclofen pump, my spasticity, my level of injury, what I can feel, what I can't feel. I'm trying to think. Oh, the Furticare, which is a vibrator for spinal cord injury. They had mentioned that they had one, that the battery was dying on it and it wasn't working very well. That's a video that I had made because I learned how to repair this device. So she was asking me, hey, can you repair this for us? And I'm like, absolutely, I'd be happy to. So at one point I'm like, hey, can you just, are you on social media? I just like to put a face with a name. Can you send me a picture of any, can you, anything, just so I know that you're a real person. And that kept getting dodged. So I'm like, and then it was a thing of, I'm not on Facebook anymore, blah, blah, blah. So it was just very, very, very odd. And finally I got to a point where I was like, I don't believe you. Like I said, it's very obvious that you're trying, everything that you've mentioned about his condition is exactly like mine. That seems very, very odd. So she sent me a picture of a couple, and actually a few pictures, just out and about. And I looked at this guy and I said to her, this is not a paraplegic. I was like, I know right off the bat, I was like, it would be easier to convince me of anything else, but this is clearly not a paraplegic because his legs, have no atrophy. Just, you can tell, no wheelchair, that kind of thing. So then it became a story.
No wheelchair.
Yeah, in any of the photos. So I'm like, okay. And then I was like, no, that's not. And she's like, I have a confession. He actually has cerebral palsy. So then I'm like, okay, well, that's even more bullshit, because somebody with cerebral palsy is even easier to, identify, because they were born with that condition. So long story short, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't believe anything you're saying. And a friend of mine was looking at the picture. I said, I don't know who this person is. Like, they're obviously lying to me about their identity. The guy in one of the photos had a hat with a business name on it. And this person looked that up and found the actual couple that was in that photo. So this person was stealing photos off of Facebook and claiming to be these people. So I'm like, what the fuck, and I basically sent this person a screenshot of the actual couple, like, oh, look what I found,
Yeah.
completely full of shit. So that was 2022. And, of course, at that point, it was just radio silence,
Yeah.
And I even said, I was like, I would at least like an apology. I mean, I understand, like, I don't know. It just really pissed me off, because everybody else I've helped, over the years, I've been doing it out of the kindness of my heart. I'm not trying to, just, I don't know. And I know I've always also talked to you about devs. I had told the person countless times, I was like, if this is what you are, it's fine. Like, just admit it, don't keep, creating these stories that aren't true. So anyway, that was 2020 or 2022. Yeah. So I didn't finish the story. So I sent a message to the real couple, and I said, I don't know if you know this. This person is claiming to be you. And they came back and said, can you please call us right now? I'm like, okay. So I called them, and they're like, we're freaking out, because this person has our name, has our address. They had contacted me because we are selling a car. And they've been really weird about it. They said that the car was for a paraplegic boyfriend of this woman. And, they're like, we're just freaking out because we don't know, like, if she's going to come show up at our house or something. So that was basically the end of this. Yeah. It was, like I said, it was a rabbit hole,
That's wild. So let me just get this straight. So it was a woman devotee, or are you not sure? It could have been a man.
So that's where it goes.
Okay,
so
right.
That was 2022.
One more thing, if they were to send you a picture and it wasn't them, it would be easy to find a genuine paraplegic guy, right? If you're gonna steal a photo, then send a picture of someone in a wheelchair rather than like, oh no, it's this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't get it. Well, because I asked for a picture of them together is why. Maybe, I guess you could go on anybody's Facebook, even a paraplegic, that would have two people in it, a man and a woman.
You could go on mine, you could easily just go on mine. You go on
like
anyone's.
I said, it was insanity. It was absolute insanity. And it was more the depth that, like descriptions of like how they met and, how long they've known each other. And she had 4 brothers and all this bullshit that it was unnecessarily information, but it was all prefabricated. You know what I mean?
Whoa, this has gone from like kind of funny to like pretty creepy quite quickly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I had made a post on the spinal cord injury website in 2022, and I said, FYI, like this is what went down. If this person reaches out to you, just know that it's probably not that actual person. So I had another girl or another woman in our spinal cord injury group say, this person reached out to me. Her husband is a C4 or C5 quadriplegic. So this woman said, hey, would you be able to help me? My boyfriend's a C4, C5 quadriplegic. Oh
my God.
The same exact thing. Like they reach out to people that have the same condition, because they know that we'll be like, yeah, of course, I'll help you, blah, blah, blah. So the story that this person told that girl was completely different than what was being told to me. So it was just fucked up.
Wow.
So yeah. So that's
crazy.
So I basically, it was radio silence from there. In 2024, this person sent me a message on Facebook, and was just like, I'm sorry. And I was like, okay. I said, all I want to know is why you did it. Like, what was going through your head? Like, are you a woman? Are you a man? Like, And finally, I was like, I just want to see who you actually are. And this person sends me a picture of a man brushing his teeth in the mirror.
What?
Yeah. Like, that was the actual person it was. So I'm just like, oh my God. So anyway, flash forward to recently, I hadn't really spoke to this person. Every now and again, they'd say, hey, how you doing? Would just ignore it, that kind of thing. Yeah. So they asked for a picture of me. And I was like, okay. Like, and I was like, I kind of had forgiven this person. Like, I get it. Like, devotees are a certain type of breed. Like, it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. Like, I always wanted to be kind of open, with, hey, if they've got, a thing like that, it didn't bother me, But what I came to find out, so I shot a picture of me like with my shirt off, which was stupid. Like, why the fuck would I do that? But it was just like, it was kind of like here, I'll throw you a bone, whatever, but it wasn't anything beyond that. And then they came back and they said, no, like in your daily living, like, and then I was like, wait a minute, you mother effer, you are trying to impersonate me. That's what I believed, is they wanted photos just of, me in my wheelchair and, going places with family, doing things, because that weren't Facebook stamped. You know what I mean? Like, if you save a photo, like, it's a little more obvious if it's a hijacked photo. So I basically was writing back to this person, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, so it was at that point, my wife was like, who's Nicole Clark? And I'm like, like, it's a long story, because she saw, I was typing. Didn't help that I was also about three beers deep, just like, I know what you're doing, She wanted to see the conversation. Well, I knew that picture was in there, and I thought she would be like, why the fuck did you send that? So being drunk, I was just like, fuck it. I had swiped right and just deleted the conversation. Well, that's what made her think that I was lying to her.
Oh, I see.
That I was being shady. And then it went into this whole thing, like, it blew up, and it was like, that I was being disrespectful when I was having, she's like, what are you having? Like, do you have like an alternate life? Like, no, that wasn't the case. So that was the long story short. Not really. But, once that settled down, I mean, she knows I love her, and she knows it was just the accusations at the time that I always felt kind of weird about, like accusing me of having an alternate life, of being gay, of wanting attention from people like this, like, for me, it's not an attention thing. It has, like, in the past, like years ago, it's like when I was first injured, I was like, yeah, it feels good to be, seen as attractive and stuff like that. But that's not the thing now. That's not why I did that. It was just kind of like fine, I'll throw you a bone, which was stupid. So long story short, I figured out, like, I cannot trust anyone, like, you can't. We're in that day and age where it's just like, I want to help people. I want to believe people are real, but, then it just, it backfired clearly. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's really interesting, man. And that is very, very juicy. And I told you recently, I said it on the podcast, and I've been quite vocal about it, but like I got approached by a devotee recently, and they wanted a picture of me in the shower, which I sent them, but I charged them 200 euros for it, right? So I was like, if you want to see a picture of me naked, then, show me the money. And they paid it. But what I will say is, like, they were sending me loads of messages on Patreon, and I did feel like, even though, like, I was like 99% sure it was a man, maybe like a 1% chance it was a woman. But I just remember thinking, it's kind of nice. Like they're sending me loads of messages like saying how attractive I am. They're just like really saying, oh, it's not because you're in a wheelchair. It's because you're beautiful. You're just gorgeous. You're perfect. You're all like this. And then after I'd sent the picture, they were complimenting, my manhood and stuff like that. And I was like, this is too much. This is too much.
Right.
I need to stop now, because like this isn't OnlyFans. This was transactional. If anything, I felt like I was like reeling them in. Like, if I can profit off of this off of this nude picture, then I get money. But then I was like, as I was like messaging them afterwards, and they were like talking about my dick and that, I was like, this is too much. But I know what you mean. Like when someone's like so overtly complimentary about you, or in whatever way, I was very flattered, and I was like, oh, I liked the attention a little bit, but then I remember thinking, no, this is weird because it's probably a dude, you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah. See, that's my thing. Like that never, I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much, who it is necessarily. Like I've never been, homophobic or anything like that, but it's just, many, many years ago when I did the same thing you had just done.
Yeah.
It was an open, honest thing. Like my wife knew about it and it wasn't a big deal. I think what was different about this situation was that the main thing was that I deleted that message, and it just made me look like I was being shady, which I get.
Yeah.
I would probably feel the same exact way. If the roles were reversed, like, what the fuck was that for? Like why would you do that? But it was like I said, I wasn't, I was 3 beers deep, and it just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. And then it shot me in the foot. So
yeah, that's an interesting situation you got yourself there in, mate. It's I guess it does look shady. Like it
I
does,
get it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would feel the exact same way. So all I know is what I know is true, and how I feel about her, and just how I feel about my entire family, and just me as a person. Like I know myself. I know what I am and what I'm not. And the laundry list of things that came with that event weren't true. But the thing is, I couldn't convince somebody of that. I can't convince her of that. Just have to kind of let her settle and come to her own conclusion. So that's what happened. And it was just one of those situations you just wish never happened. Like can we just wipe that off the map? It was just beyond ridiculous.
What have you learned from this, Brian?
What have I learned? Not to be stupid. As far as, well, really, like it. What I've learned is that I'm kind of naive when it comes to helping. And I feel like I'm probably been taken advantage of in the past. Trying to help people before, but a lot of those people were legitimate. Like I became Facebook friends with them, and I can see that they created a family and stuff like that. But I've been so open over the years that I feel like I kind of need to reel it in a little bit and just be more wise, be a little more smart, and just aware. I think that was the biggest thing, and also just honesty. So my thing wasn't that I deleted it because I didn't want her. Well, I didn't want her to think too far into it, because she wouldn't understand that these people have a thing, which I've come to accept. I don't think she would. So I was like, let's just not even go. Let's just not even go there. But at this point, it's like I had a real conversation. I was like, it's not like I'm communicating with people like this. I don't even really get anybody that reaches out anymore, because I've been I had been off YouTube for so long. And I don't know. I just don't feel like people are as interested in me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that ship sailed.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
On that subject, you started off the year making YouTube videos, and like you were pumping them out, and I noticed that I guess you've hit the brakes a little bit, taking your foot off the gas. Is there any reason for that? Was it like lack of inspiration, lack of time, or?
Honestly, I mean, just lack of time. Like we've been busy ever since the spring. I'm, a very out, I want to be outside as much as I can. So we went, it was basically April when we went on that cruise, and it's just been one thing after another after another. So yeah, I just haven't I feel like I haven't been able to stop. And when I have been able to stop, it's like, well, shit, it's 80 degrees outside. I want to go out there, I don't want to be stuck behind a computer editing, content. So I don't know. I do want to pick it back up, but it's just a matter of I just haven't done it yet. I feel like July was really busy, getting everything ready for my daughter's birthday. I feel like we went way overboard this year, and even the week of her birthday, I'm putting things together. We got a trampoline that I was putting together, and packages that need to be opened and assembled, and then next thing we're getting ready for her party, and then the next thing after that we're going on a vacation. It's just like bam, 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 back to back stuff. Yeah, I just feel like I've been busy.
Yeah.
Which is a
Life
good
gets in
thing.
the way.
It's not a bad problem to have.
Definitely a good problem to have. Like last week, I was chatting to Brittney about how I had fallen out of love with making content. And turns out it was almost like a therapy session. Like by the time we got to the end of the conversation, I was like, oh, it's not that I've fallen out of love with making content. It's just my life is fucking boring. Like I need to do more stuff. Like, and then I shat myself, and I was like, "Oh, there we go, wheelchair relatable content. There we go. Like, here's a video. Here's the most exciting thing that happened to me all week. I shat my pants on the couch.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think like when it comes to making content for my channel, like Fredo the wheelchair guy, it has to have value for the audience. It can't just be just nonsense, right? So I think what can I add of value to a newly injured person or someone in the spinal cord injury community that I haven't said before, I'm not repeating myself, or like that has, a value, you know what I mean? I don't want to waste anyone's time. And like the travel videos that I did, that was brilliant. That was like loads of footage. I could weave a narrative, and I was like really getting juicy into it. And then, I just like, I've got nothing to talk about really. Like I've been injured for 6 years, and life is just normal, I don't want to, do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, because that's how I feel. I'm like, what am I going to like, what new can I talk about? I feel like all the things that were very, very important, the transfers and wheelchair details and just all of that, it's like, well, I've already said it. Do I go back and do another one? Or I don't know. I do want to make a video. So we had, I told you that cruise that we went on. I got a ton of like footage and B-roll and all kinds of stuff that I wanted to talk about, the accessibility of a Disney cruise. But man, it's just like sitting in the back of my head, like I want to do that, but that's going to take so long, I just know to make it up to my standard of what I want to include. I'm like, shit, this is going to take a while. So I haven't done it,
Yeah. I know what you mean. You just procrastinate, and then all of a sudden it gets like bigger because you've got like this mountain of footage, and if you don't get on it straight away, it kind of loses relevance, and then it's just the job gets bigger in your head. You're like, oh god, where am I going to start with this? So when you've come back off holiday, you're like, oh, okay, great. Like I know exactly what happened. You kind of want to film it straight away, but you don't. The longer you leave it, the bigger of a job it looks like.
Right. Yeah. So when we got back from that trip, we were planning another trip with my friends. It was a family trip. All my buddies that have kids, we got all the wives and husbands and kids together, rented a cabin. Like that happened basically back to back to that, so then we're planning for that. Then we're doing that. And then I'm getting back. And I just felt like exactly what you said. You kind of get that distance from the original thought that you had. And then it's just like, now it just seems like a chore rather than something I actually want to do.
Yeah, no, I completely relate to that. So on that podcast last week, I know that I don't think you got to listen to it all, but I was saying about how I was a little bit like rudderless with my life, and that generally translates to not making content. But one of the things I spoke about was becoming a croupier or becoming a poker dealer, for like Texas Hold'em, because my friend
Oh,
does that. And yeah, because I play poker with him, and he's a professional dealer, and he says that he gets paid like a certain amount, which was like 3,000 euros a month. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And he only has to work 14 days, and he gets to travel. And I was like, oh, amazing. So I went down to the employment office, and I happened to have a little rendezvous there anyway. So yeah, I spoke to the lady, and I said, "Oh, this is what I want to do. I'm really excited about it." And she was like, "Yeah, great. I signed up for this training website, and there was this company called 5Bet, and they put on their social media. They're like, oh, we're having some free croupier training in September." And I was like, amazing, this is all lining up, this is going to be great.
yeah.
It's something I can do from a wheelchair. Not only something that I can do from a wheelchair, but it's like a skill set that I could, I mean, it might just be just shuffling and dealing cards, but you've got to keep an eye on the game, right? The dealer is a very important piece of the puzzle, when it comes to, especially when there's money on the line, right? So it's a skill set that they're going to train me on, and it's something I can do from the wheelchair, something I get to travel, something I can get to make content about. Oh, look, I'm training to be a croupier, and wouldn't that be amazing? So I emailed them, and then I got a shit email back today saying that
No.
unfortunately, because you're from the UK, apparently in order for you to legally work in the gaming industry, you've got to be from a country in the EU. And because of Brexit, it's not technically not in the EU. So I'm like, fuck.
What is the
Yeah,
EU? Europe?
the European Union.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah,
what that
so
was.
a little backstory. A couple of years
I'm a
ago,
honky. I don't know these things.
okay, so a little backstory. A couple of years ago, Britain voted to leave the EU. It was called Brexit. It was like, you must have heard of it. That news must have made it across the pond, right?
I've heard that word before. I had no idea what it meant. I've heard that
Huge,
before.
huge news over here. It's wild
Okay.
that you haven't heard of it. But anyway, Brexit means that they had a referendum. They voted to leave the European Union. So even though like Britain is still in Europe, like the continent, they're not part of the European Union. It was to do with like immigration, control our borders, blah 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 blah. But anyway, it was a lot of bullshit if you ask me. But not so that means that because Britain is not part of the EU, that means like instead of like being able to freely travel and live and work in France, I need a resident. So I'm a French, so I have a residency, like it's called a carte de séjour, right? So I need
It's like a
paperwork, for
visa.
example. Yeah, like a visa, but like I've got a 10-year work permit, I guess, to live and work in France, right? And I'm
Oh,
all French registered and all that. But before it was just Europe, right? So now it's not Europe, and this little loophole, the fact that I'm from a country that no longer is in the European Union, prohibits me from working in the gaming industry, which means I can't get that job that I wanted, which sucks.
damn. Even though you are technically a resident, it's like you're not traveling to France. That doesn't count. That is like your permanent residence, right?
Yeah. So that doesn't
Yeah.
apparently that doesn't count. Yeah, I mean I can get a job here, but apparently this is what it said. Let's have a quick look at the
Yeah.
email I got. So I've translated this. It was in French, but it says, "You indicate that you are of British nationality. If this is the case, you will unfortunately not be able to work in France, since French regulations require any gaming employee to be a national of a European Union country."
What?
Yeah, I know.
Question. Did your mind go into, oh, they're just trying to find a reason not to hire me because I'm in a wheelchair?
I haven't mentioned I'm in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All I did was I
Not
just
that that would
said,
matter, but I was just curious if I thought you had interviewed in person or,
I
you
just
know,
shot them an email, just said, "Hey, I saw this thing that you put on social media. I'm very much
gotcha.
interested in the training. I'd love to be a croupier. I've got a friend, my mate Anthony,
Yeah.
who works for you guys. He put me onto it, and I'd love to join. Just to heads up, I'm British. I know that, and also one of the things that was about being a croupier is apparently during the tournaments you have to speak English at the table. Like all the croupiers have to speak English.
Huh.
I was like, okay, cool, I've got that. I'm fluent. So it might be a little bit tricky during the training because my French isn't amazing, but I do speak French.
Yeah.
And then they just said, oh, if you're, like you say, if you're British, that means, unfortunately, I'm not from a country that's no longer in the European Union, which sucks. There's so many things about Brexit that sucks. I understand why people voted for it, but I think it was just a lot of propaganda, and anyway. So yeah, that sucks, because I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, not only am I going to get a new job, it'll be like a really exciting job with a new skill set, it'll be really fun,
man.
and I could make content about it, and I could be almost like an inspiration, like, oh, look at him go, he's got like he's going to get a real job, and then that just got shot down because of some silly bureaucratic rule.
Damn. I'm trying to find. I think you're a little out of focus. I don't know why.
I am, yeah. I think it's like
weird.
focusing on my autofocus. Come on, get back in. It'll sort itself out, I think. There we go.
Oh, there we go. We got you back.
Yeah.
Man. I was trying to think, like, maybe this is a reason, like something you wanted to do but didn't work out, so you could do the magic. So you could pursue magic. Have you thought that?
It's funny because I went down to the employment office to speak to this lady who is like my employment advisor, I guess, because they pay me for being unemployed, which is wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I love getting paid for doing nothing, but at the same time, it's not quite as fulfilling as like having a job, and being like, I earn, my own money. But don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna cry about getting free money. But the employment advisor, it's interesting because in hindsight, I really wish I'd have gone down there and been like, hey, I want to be a magician, because then I could have just done a magic show in the office and she'd have been like, oh, you're amazing, best of luck to you. But instead I said I wanted to be a croupier.
Damn.
It sounded more legit, I think. You know what I mean? Like, I think I don't know if you go in there and say, I want to be a professional magician. I don't know what it is. I just thought like a croupier sounded a little bit more. Also, at the time, I was very excited about it. I just learned about the opportunity and I was like, yay! And she was like, oh, amazing! There's going to be a casino opening up in Tonon, which is just down the road, in 2026. And I'm like, oh, amazing! Isn't that great? But obviously, she wasn't aware of that rule either. So that's
Random question: has gambling been legal in France for a long time, or is this a new thing?
No, like when I went to America, I spent some time in America. I liked it. It's a wild place. Ages ago. Yeah, I lived in Lake Tahoe for like 3 months.
What? I had no idea you did that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
you went to what's that island called?
Australia?
You lived in Australia and New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
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 New
And
Zealand
also
is not.
I guess they're both islands.
Right?
But so I went to America. This was so many years ago, back when before my accident, and I lived on State Line Avenue, right, which was right in California, but you cross the road and there's like all the casinos, right, in Nevada, State Line Avenue in Lake Tahoe. And I did a ski season. I was into like snowboarding, and it was wild, brilliant time. I actually got like a little bit addicted to craps, the one where you throw the dice.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the problem was I was winning like all the time. I would like come home with money, and I was like, how is, of course I'm going to get addicted to it. I think on a long enough timeline, I would have probably, but I was like dreaming of craps. The first thing I would wake up thinking about was playing craps. I would be snowboarding and I would think about playing craps. It just completely like just consumed my mind. Like, honestly, it was just like throwing the dice, but it was so much fun because Americans are like, generally speaking, they're quite excitable, especially in the casino. And when you've got the dice, they call you shooter. They're like, shooter! And you're like, yeah, woohoo! And you throw the dice, and there's so many different things you can bet on. And like, it's just wild. You just bet on the dice, and it was wildly addictive. And I was like coming home with money like every night. I was like, this is amazing. Anyway, so where was I going with this? Yeah, America's a wild place. I loved it. It was crazy. It was wild because I was also, at that time, I'd been to places like Cambodia, and in Cambodia, I hadn't expected there to be such wealth, because you think it was like a third world country, right? But I saw palaces and like Bentleys and Rolls Royces, and I was like, these are the things I did not expect to see in Cambodia. But when I went to America, again, I was thinking like, Trump Tower, gold-plated Rolls Royces, but I saw such poverty, and I was like, oh my God, like I hadn't expected to see such poverty in America and such wealth in Cambodia. And I was like, they're almost both kind of third world countries in their own way. but
Yeah.
with wild wealth inequality, and it was very weird. So yeah, and LA, like California, is just a fucking wild place, man. Like there's just so many larger than life people. You know, I got mugged pretty much by an Elvis impersonator.
What?
well, because
Oh
because
man.
he I was with this other guy, like a tourist, and we like took a selfie with this Elvis impersonator, which was like we didn't really ask for it, but then he was like, "Yeah, you got to give me some money, man." And I was like, "Oh, well, we, you know," and I kind of opened my wallet, and he just grabbed some money out of my wallet. He goes, "Yeah, that'll do," and I was like, "Did I just get robbed by Elvis?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm pretty sure we just got robbed by Elvis," and then he's just, but he was so nice, you know, until he wasn't, and it was just like he just wanted to like get this picture and then take money out of my wallet, and then and I was like, what the hell? This was on like the Hollywood Boulevard strip place, and I was like,
Oh
this is
man.
dodgy. Like I thought this, like, you know, you think Hollywood is like this glitzy, glamorous place. It was not. It was dirty. It was like,
Dude. Yes.
yeah,
It's funny because I went out to California. It was like 7 years ago, but I had the same thought. Like we flew into, what was it? San Diego, rented a car, drove all the way up to San Francisco. So over the course of a week, but it
yeah,
was like, I remember, San Diego, I'm like, oh, this is a nice place, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we'll stop in LA next. Stopped in LA and I'm like, what the fuck is it? Like, this is a shithole.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it is just, I mean, just, I don't know, stayed on Santa Monica Boulevard and like
mm-hmm.
the hotel we stayed in was like $280 a night. Shitty hotel,
Yeah.
just run down. And I'm like, why am I paying all this money for basically nothing, nothing good. I don't know. I had the same opinion, but
Yeah.
I will say that California got better the farther north I went, it just got more pretty and people were nicer. And I don't know. I have
Yeah,
no urge to ever live. I never would live in New York City, and I never would live in Los Angeles. Those are two places in the U.S. that I'm just like, I don't even have any urge to visit New York just because it's so freaking chaotic, expensive. I feel like people are kind of assholes, and I'm like, I just don't.
yeah.
I don't really want to mess with it. I feel like
I
it
know.
would be difficult with a wheelchair, that whole bit.
I was exactly the same, man. But you know, like some people are like, New York City, it's the greatest city in the world. I'm like, really? Because it does not look like the greatest city in the world to me. It looks
Yeah,
pretty unfriendly, you know, like unforgiving, you know, like especially in a
yeah.
wheelchair. I just wouldn't want to go there. But yeah, man, America is a wild place. When I went, I went to San Francisco, and I remember thinking I was quite excited to go to San Francisco, and I felt like I was going to get robbed at any minute. I was just like, oh my God, I just feel like on high alert. Like there were so many homeless people and so many dodgy people. And I was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
man, I feel like really unsafe. And then I
Huh.
left there, and like when I was in Lake Tahoe, which was really nice, it was like a more affluent area. I still met some very interesting people. Like I met some gang members on New Year's Eve. I remember I was just chatting to them, and I was like trying to understand like they was telling me about like if they saw another member of a rival gang, they would fight them on the spot. And I was like, why is that? Like, being very naive and British. Later on that night, they did see again. I don't know what I was doing. I was on drugs, but I was chatting to these gang members. Basically, I got lost from my group. I was in a casino. It seemed very safe. Later on that night, these gang members did see members of another gang, and they did fight them. And I was like, oh my God, like they weren't wrong. It was a violent altercation in the street, and I was like, I was not prepared for that. And then I was like, okay, guys, I'm gonna say, I see you later. I was like, these are not my new friends. You need to like
Right.
go find your actual
Was it
friends.
a
Like this.
was it a buzzkill? Was it a buzzkill?
It
You're
was
like,
weird, man. Mate,
yeah.
America is a wild place. And that was so long ago. I feel like it was like living in a movie when I was in LA. Again, LA
Huh.
is so weird because you go to the downtown area because that's where you think, where you would go, right? And it was just like, this is so dodgy. I saw a pimp who was dressed like he was from a movie set, and he was having a
Yeah.
real argument with someone. And I was like, I thought that was literally fancy dress. I didn't realize that pimps dressed like that. It was so wild. When I was staying in the hotel, I saw two police chases. So like you could see the helicopter and like the beam of light and like the flashing lights, and they were like weaving around, and I was like, no way, that's an actual police chase. And I was like, that's so crazy. And then like 5 minutes later, there's another one, and I was like, hell, what the? It's like living in a crazy movie.
Yeah.
Especially being from the UK and like hearing all the accents and like going on a bus. I went through a bus that went through Inglewood, and it went through like a very sort of black area, and there were all these like guys just like dropping the N-bomb, and I felt like I was in the hood, and I was like, whoa, I really do feel like I'm in a movie now, you know what I mean? I was like very meek, just like keeping myself to myself. Like I almost got that time I got mugged by Elvis. I almost got mugged another time. It was just
Jesus
really
Christ, man.
it was wild, man. It was you got to be on your A game, and you can't just
Right.
especially if you're, I don't know, I guess I was like, at the time I looked like someone like muggable, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't blame. If you're gonna mug someone, mug me, right?
Right. I will say though, that's not what my part of the country is at all like. And
Yeah.
what's weird is I went to California. I didn't have any of those experiences. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You just got you just got it all, man. Anything possible, they threw at you.
It was a wild time. I remember when I was in Lake Tahoe, I met this guy. He's called Kale, his name was, and he was growing weed in his apartment. He was like very racist. I mean, he had some like very bad experiences, I think, that had made him racist. He used language that I was very uncomfortable with, but he also had a gun. And I mean, okay, Americans have guns, but he had this big gun, and I was like, whoa, okay. And like when I got introduced to him, through a mutual friend, he had to like introduce me to his dog, because his dog was like trained to like kill intruders because of some past trauma. I don't know. He was like very, very protective of his space.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, let me introduce you to the dog before it like, attacks you. And I was like, okay. And then he showed me this, and I was just like, I had my breath taken away, because I was like, fuck, there's a gun. Like, as a non-American, I'm not really around guns. And he just like showed me this gun, and I was like, yep, okay, cool. And I just felt like I was in a very, very dodgy place.
Yeah.
There were some other people there that were washing dishes in restaurants, and they didn't have like a green card or whatever, so they were like illegal immigrants, and it was like really interesting to like see all the different layers of like people. And I was in like Lake Tahoe, so I was snowboarding. So there's like, you got like the people that ski, the very affluent people, and then like people all the way down to like I don't know. It was like being in a movie, and it was just so eye-opening. I was just like, holy shit, America is so wild. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I will say in our defense, it's not all like that,
Yeah.
But people have guns. That's one thing that is a fact. It's funny you mentioned that, because I live in Ohio, and a lot of my family is kind of in rural, areas.
Yeah.
So anyway, on Easter, we were at my family's house, and he's got basically an arsenal. He's a he's a firefighter, which doesn't have anything to do with guns. I just mentioned that because he just has that mentality of guns aren't a big deal, and they're really not a big deal to me. So anyway, he had a small 22 rifle, a 22 caliber, is very small. He was letting, he's very safe, was letting the kids, he was helping a couple, like my daughter, shoot the gun because she wanted to try it. It didn't kick or anything like that. But I had sent it to my friend, and I sent the video to my friend that lives in Italy, and she basically shit herself twice. Like, why would you let your child shoot a gun?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just normal. That's just normal. I mean, like, I shot it, everybody else shot it. Like, it was no big deal. He had a 9mm pistol that I was, shooting at a target, and that's just normal. I don't know.
Yeah.
But do you feel the same way? Like, that just would never be something that would be seen in France?
When Kale got that gun out, I remember like the hairs on my neck was standing up. It just made me feel like, whoa, like,
yeah,
it was just such a shock. I was like, fuck me, that's a real gun. Like,
right.
But I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'd have that reaction now, but like, do you have a gun?
Yes.
That's
Two.
wild. You have a
I
gun.
have two.
No way. And
Yeah,
you have
but
them for protection?
well, I target shoot, but I mean, I do have a safe in my house, so it's locked up all the time. But it is loaded just in case. I have had a situation one time a couple years ago. So it was actually Christmas Eve. This was the fucking craziest thing. This person, at 2:30 in the morning, somebody is pounding on my front door, pounding, 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 just constant. And I have a doorbell camera, so I can see them. And this guy is just acting really sketchy, just pacing back and forth, and just kept, coming back and pounding. And I'm like, what the fuck, And I'm in bed. I was butt naked because I sleep naked. So I'm like,
Yeah,
well, I'm
yeah.
not going to get up and go see what's what, just like hopefully the guy goes away. So he left, and then he came back again. And by that time, I had put on my underwear, and I went, started just pounding on the door. He was ranting about something about like money, like motherfuckers have all this money, like it was sketchy. So he goes back out to his car, and finally I open the door. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But I had my gun behind my back. So I'm just answering the door. And long story short, the guy had the wrong address. Some girl had given him my address as opposed to somebody else. I'm pretty sure he was probably a drug dealer, but I don't know. But he came up, and I think he realized what I had in my hand. He's like, dude, I mean no harm. I mean no harm. Like I want to show you. He held his phone up to the door and showed me the text message of the girl that gave him my address. And I was like, dude, you can't be pounding on people's doors in the middle of the night like that. Like that's when bad things happen. And he's like, I'm sorry, man. I apologize. But yeah, I mean, I felt like I was going to be attacked. Like it was really, really sketchy. Filed a police report in the full bit, but yeah, so I don't know.
That's wild. I mean, I think America is so culturally different. Like, that's what it was a culture shock. I hadn't anticipated having a culture shock going to a country which speaks my native language. And I remember thinking, holy shit, America is wildly different to the UK. Wildly different culture. Like it's like, again, like you have a gun because you want to protect yourself, right? It wouldn't even occur to me to have a gun. We don't even lock our front door. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah, that's true.
It's just, yeah. But like a lot of people say, again, I probably don't want to bring up this debate, but like about the gun laws, and a lot of English people or whatever, they say, oh, it's ridiculous, they should ban guns. And I'm like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like you should have banned guns like maybe 100 years ago, right? But like now everyone's armed to the teeth, and you can't.
Right.
I would probably, if I lived there, I would probably have a gun as well. I'm probably an easy target in a wheelchair, right? You want to be able to protect yourself, protect your family.
Yeah.
If someone's at the door, and I can understand. Anyway, I don't. This is probably not a conversation I had anticipated having, but yeah, it's kind of weird, man. Like I just yeah. America's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I can see from the outside looking in, it would be like, what the hell is going on there? Especially all the craziness that you dealt with, which doesn't happen in majority of the country. Like all that homelessness and robberies and stuff. I mean, they happen, but it's not like just an everyday kind of occurrence. But I do agree. Like, I've got a buddy who's a gun collector. It's like, dude, why do you need an AK-47? Like, why do you need that? Nobody, like I will say, like I am not anti-gun, but nobody needs that shit. Like there's no logical reason. If you have a pistol for, home protection or a shotgun, like if somebody's invading your home and you hear that, it's going to freak them out, But why do you have to pull out? That's basically the whole point of having those things. Anyway, that's a tangent.
Right. I know that you've got a hard out. You said that you got to be done, but I'm gonna end on just one little last anecdote of my time. The time I almost got mugged. So it was, I guess it wasn't my fault. I guess is it ever your fault if you almost get mugged? But like in hindsight, I'd been to a bar. I went a dive bar. I'd had a few beers. Also, with the exchange rate, everything seems so cheap in America. So I'd gone to this like boutique store. I'd bought like new trainers, like new shoes, new jeans, new jacket. So I had like all brand new clothes on, and my old clothes were in these like boutique shopping bags, right? I'd had a few beers. I'd spoke to this homeless guy who like shared a joint with me. So I was like, oh, okay. And I had a little buzz on. I was on the bus going from Santa Monica back to like near LAX where my hotel was. It was like a motel kind of thing, you know, like with the outdoor pool area.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yep.
I was giving it some of this on the bus because I was like, I was loose, you know, I was loose with my tongue. And I was like, yeah, I'm on holiday. Yeah. Oh, everything's so cheap over here. Oh, yeah, no.
Oh God.
Dressed like in all brand new clothes. Anyway, I spoke to this one lady because I recognized her. She was a street performer. Anyway, I was giving all this on the bus. And then I got off the bus. And then I was walking back. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, oh my God, I'm being followed. You know, like when you, again, that whole like, ooh, like that spidey sense of like, fuck, I'm being followed. I'm definitely being followed. And then I was like, I was like, when I get around the corner, I am running to my hotel room. And I sprinted up the stairs, opened the door, slammed the door, and I looked through the peephole, and there's a guy there, like looking through the peephole, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Shit.
And I was like, he was definitely chasing me. Like I thought, you know, was it in my head? Was it in my head? And I was like, nope, he was chasing me, and now he's outside my door. I was like really scared, and then I went to look out the window, went back, and like he wasn't there anymore, and I was like, oh my God. So I just stayed in my room, waited for the sun to rise, and then I was like, yeah, you're an idiot.
Christ.
Like, you're just giving it all that on. And because I'm from a place where I feel safe, like, talking.
Yeah.
But I have basically
I wonder if
painted.
you were more of a target because you're British.
I painted a unintentional target on my back for sure. Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Great story, man. That was a good way to wrap it up.
Thank you very much. Anyway, thanks for your time, Brian. I really appreciate it. I know that you've got a hard out. You've got to go back to work, but I appreciate you taking the time. It's been great to catch up with you, man. It's been really nice shooting the shit and having a good old catch up.
Yep, for sure, man. So
anything else you want to say before we?
I think that's about it. I think we covered all the bases, at least for now. So yeah, man.
Until next time, everybody.
We'll see you guys.
See you later.
Peace
Bye.
out.
Oh, I forgot to